show is sponsored by HiveMind CRM. It is more than just a CRM. It is a real estate and business mastermind that comes with an all-in-one CRM. You can have unlimited websites and users. You can call, text, RVM, and email all in one user interface. And you can set up custom automations for any type and multiple businesses. 65% of companies start using a CRM system within the first 5 years of business. Once implemented, the HiveMind will save you on marketing, give you more time, and make more money. One of our users had his first $100,000 month using our system in June. We want to see you automate and accelerate your business. Text us at 210-972-1842 for future meetings, and of course to get our $1 course on how to make more than 6 figures on one land deal. You can schedule your free demo today at HiveMindCRM.io.
Hey, welcome to today's episode. This is an episode we're part of our Stream Conscious little thing. It's where me and Anthony just talk about stuff that's on our mind and a lot of things. We did 2 episodes of this while we were driving one day in Texas while we were together one time. So it's a lot of stuff we just think about, and so it's just interesting stuff that what's on our mind right now. We have Anthony here. So one thing we want to talk about is harnessing the magic of the podcast. So this is one thing we kind of, Anthony was not a believer, but he's a believer now.
Yeah. When we first started in this game, like I'm going hard 100 miles an hour, doing real estate deals, and Daniel's always been like, my partner in crime, but he's always been helping with the back ends, automations, technology things, numbers, running numbers, crunching numbers, doing breakdowns. So I would call him and say, hey man, can you run the numbers on this little apartment complex on this thing? Do the numbers work? And he'll text me back in 38 seconds. Like, hey, here's everything. I'm like, dang, that would have took me a couple hours to pencil out. Right. So we've always had that amazing connection. Like he practiced his strength. I practice mine. So I'm like 100% into real estate. And he's like, hey man, we got to do a podcast. We're going to interview this person and this person. And to me, it was like a huge inconvenience because I'm like, I'm in the trenches, man. I'm trying to get it. I'm not exactly trying to stop and just like have a cool conversation, talk about real estate. Like I'm not talking about real estate. I'm doing real estate. Right. So I did think I was above it. But now come to find out years later, it's like, it's probably the most powerful piece of our brand and the most powerful thing that we've done. I even called Daniel a couple of weeks ago and I said, dude, I was like, I got to hand it to you, man. I was like, you're a genius, bro. I said, because I did not see the vision.
Yeah. So, and the reason why I really want to talk about this is because I always like, we interview our clients, and if you listen to the shows and all these episodes that we've been releasing, a lot of people we interview are clients as a whole. So I talked to DeAndre Anderson, who's out of Florida, Flipping Contracts Dre on Instagram. Go check him out. I talked to him like, hey, yeah, Dre, Flipping Contracts Dre, DeAndre Anderson. And we've done 2 episodes with him prior. I just recorded a 3rd with him. And on the 3rd one, I'm like, hey, have you gotten any business from the podcast? And he's like, dude, it's funny you asked me. I had a lady I was contracting and she wanted to see who I was, and she ended up Googling me, and she found an episode with you guys that we're talking about flipping land. And she ended up signing the contract the next day. And I thought, and like in my head, and he was telling me this, in my head, I thought she wouldn't with me because we're talking about how I made this amount of money on a deal, whatever. And I was like, totally thought it wouldn't have worked out. But she told me the reason why she was signed with me is because I did a podcast about business, and I'm out here doing the actual business. So it's kind of, and I don't know how much money he made on that deal, but it's just like, and we did those podcasts a year ago, and it's just been out there. So the magic is in the seasoning of your podcast, and it's not even about the downloads or who listens to or how many downloads you have and millions of downloads per month. It's making the impact on the listeners you do have and building that audience, because you don't know who's going to find you off of that. And I've told Anthony about, I told DeAndre about this. I'm like, dude, now you can tell people you're Googleable. And I told Anthony the power of that too. And Anthony used that with a seller too. Can you tell about that story?
Yeah. I forgot who it was. Daniel would always say it as a joke. He would say like, hey, I'm not going to carry, because we've never carried business cards. We don't have flyers, call it what you will. We want you to go and find our content, right? When people are like, hey, do you have a card? I show them my shirt. Like I'm at a meeting. I'm like, check this out. So Daniel would kind of joke, and he would say, yeah, he goes, I'm not going to give him a card. I'm going to say, just Google me if you want to find out who I am. And sure enough, I've had sellers. I'm on the phone with them and I'm talking to them, and they're like, how do I know you're the real deal? How do I know this isn't a scam? I'm like, I don't know. Go look me up online. Give my name and phone number. And twice now this has happened where they've called me back and said, okay, I'm ready to do the deal. And in the wholesaling world, I've heard a lot of people think about that it might be shady, right? Because there are wholesalers out there that are doing shady things. But in your mind, you're like, why would somebody give me a property for less and let me make some profit on it? But as professionals, we're out there, we're actually sourcing the buyers, we're doing the legwork, we're doing the marketing, we're moving dumpsters, we're negotiating with attorneys, we're removing liens. So we're working our butts off, right? We're earning our keep. I'm proud of what I do. I think it's honorable. And so even if these sellers now, right, you think what you're doing is secret, they go out, they look us up, they see what you're doing, and they're like, yeah, I want to do business with you. So boom, power of the podcast, power of branding, power of having yourself out there. I want to tell you something that I've enjoyed more than anything about the podcast is the connections that we've been able to make. I mean, we've had some monsters on the podcast and we have some even bigger monsters lined up now. But try to get these people on the phone, hit them on Messenger, send them a text message and say, hey, can I stay on the phone with you for an hour? They might not even respond to your text, right? But you invite them to a podcast and say, hey, can you come hang out with us for an hour and talk a little bit about business or talk about whatever your industry is? Yes, 270 times. So I think that's what's probably been the most amazing thing for me is that the podcast gives you the power to be mentored by a top level individual. I mean, we've gone deep, right? We've gone really, really deep where we're like interviewing these people where we're able to like ask these questions, these really sharp digging questions that like you might not see on a normal podcast. And they just go ahead and spew all the information, everything. It's been amazing. Yeah, we've seen it happen time and time again.
So, I'll talk about the key things. I have a couple stories with this. So I had a guest that he DM'd me because after we released the episode, he saw how much content we were pushing out of his episode. That he's like, I want to do another one because we're good stewards of the content we produce. So like most of the episodes that we might get 30, 45 minutes of episodes. We'll come in and get 10 to 15 edits of that episode and then just release that, recycle. And like he'll be commenting, like every time he sees this video, he comments on it because he appreciates that we're like letting his message out. And we're a good steward of the content that we're producing together. It's
beautiful.
So cool.
Yeah, being a good steward of the information is huge. Yeah, like we're going to try to blow up your brand by you investing that hour with us, right? So we're not stealing that hour. We're going to repackage it and regurgitate it and push it back out into the marketplace to try to drive you more business. So it's just an amazing space to be in. I think it's pretty cool. Something that I think about, I'm an old school marketer. I've been doing marketing for almost 15 years. I was like in the days of like Jonathan Budd, David Wood, Hoverson. There's a bunch of those old school marketers that were just blowing up, that around that time frame. And I remember like they push you to this landing page, right? You put in your name and your email, and then it opens up like a sales letter video, or you go on this landing page that's super, super long. It's like just boom, 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 boom. You're just reading all the way down like a 30-minute sales letter. And I was thinking, man, these guys are geniuses. 30-minute sales letter, hour-long sales letter. So by the time you get to the end of the funnel, you're ready to drop $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 for whatever product and service they were pushing at the time. Well, in this case, right, with us doing the podcast and having all of this content in place, what we're seeing time and time again now is people are coming through that virtual funnel. And by the time they do get on the phone with us, they're ready to spend money, right? Somebody just popped through the other day and gave us $3,500, right? So these people are coming in now and they're like purchasing these, 4,000. Oh, shoot, you see, it comes in quick. And right now we're working on $1 million land deal. We're working on making $1.5 million on a single land deal. Once that deal closes, guess what? Our private mastermind to make $1 million on a land deal, because this is repeatable now. We've signed up, I would say we signed up like $6 million worth of contracts like in the last 45 days. This is repeatable. So we're going to start teaching people how to do $1 million on a land deal. We're going to charge $25,000 for the entry into that. So I can imagine by the time people come across our content, they see this and, hey, these guys are the real deal. Boom, I'm happy to give this guys $25,000 if they're going to teach me how to make $1 million. So what we're gearing up for is huge. Long form sales letter, long form sales content. The power of the podcast, connecting with people that are on a different level than you, possibly multiple levels above you. They're willing to give you an hour of their time just for having a podcast.
I want to mention one more thing because I always like this story. So if you guys check out episode 201, it's he's an Australian investor who invests in New Orleans. And I asked him before the episode, I'm like, hey, why do you want to do this? He's like, well, I want to be known to buy houses in my market and be the guy. I'm like, all right, I got you. So if you go look at episode 201, I literally called it Aussie Steve Kingery doing more real estate in New Orleans, Louisiana. And it was a simple nod because like he gave me an hour of his time. We talked about a lot of different stuff, but his goal was to be getting Google SEO in his market. So I'm like, all right, let me do it, giving him Google SEO in his market. So I just laid it. It was an exchange. And like if you go listen to the episode, we talked about other stuff and key points of investing in New Orleans, but like it was an exchange of value where I'm like, I'll give you the SEO. I mean, I appreciate you giving me an hour of your time. Here's the SEO. Please go make money in your local market. So this can be a huge, huge key point of being online, being reachable, being found online is such a underrated power play that can make you money forever.
Yep. So we're actually working on a book right now. We're probably about 70% complete on the book. Not very much left to go at all. It's actually moving pretty quick. We knocked out actually like half of it, like in a day, right? In an evening.
Yeah.
So we're almost complete with the book, but that's something that we're going to cover. We're going to cover like the most powerful points that you can cover in marketing. And we're going to go deep on the podcast. This has been magic. If you're in business, if you're in branding, if you're trying to get your name out there, whatever you're trying to do or grow, if you don't have a podcast, you're sinking ship. I promise you. And to move into the age of content, you need to have a podcast.
Start one or be on guests on other people's too. You don't just have to start your own. You can be guests on hundreds or thousands of them out there. That's one thing I do 100%. I've probably been a guest to over 50 to 60 podcasts right now to date that I've done in the last 12 months. And it's just been a grind. And like I said, it's just getting the message out there, reaching new audiences and providing value in my own way through your own story. So for everybody out there, start a podcast, go guest on other people's podcasts, and create your own magic in your own business.
Go get you some magic, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us.
The show is sponsored by The List Guys. Do you need more leads in your local or virtual market? 1 in 10 small businesses don't invest in any kind of marketing. The List Guys have over 35 plus list types to choose from, and you can mix and match any list or criteria. We also use the Skip Trace list and provide up to 7 numbers and email addresses. Every list you purchase will be scrubbed against previous purchases. The List Guys are here to save you time. Contact the List Guys today at www.1listguys.com. That's www.1listguys.com.